talking with you about the PAMI blending product, which stands for Promoting Awareness of Motivational Incentives. This morning I'm going to talk with you a little bit about motivational incentives. If you don't already know what they are, you will in a little bit. You're going to know how they can help enhance treatment outcomes, help facilitate the recovery process. We're going to learn a little bit about the difference between reinforcers and rewards. And you're going to be introduced to the 7 steps for creating and implementing a motivational incentive program. We're going to be talking about that in greater detail in the afternoon. That's a really important part of this process. And I'm just going to mention the fishbowl technique briefly today, but in the afternoon you will have the opportunity to experience the fishbowl for yourselves, and you know how to do it, you know where you can get the resources for doing fishbowl. You can see I have one over here. In the afternoon you will have the opportunity to win some prizes, but you will have to work for them, because that's what you have to do in motivational incentives. You have to do something to get your incentive. So motivational incentives are also known as contingency management. For the sake of consistency today, you're going to hear me say motivational incentives, but they are also known as contingency management. Some of you may want to know, why do motivational incentives matter to me? Well, they matter because we know that they can enhance treatment and facilitate recovery. Motivational incentives do not replace what you're already doing with your treatment, but they are there to enhance what you are already doing. They also target specific behaviors in a patient's treatment plan. This matters for us as clinicians because you know that once you do that initial treatment plan, a short while later you're going to have to review your treatment plan, you're going to sit down with the patient, and you're going to say, these were your initial goals. Did you meet those goals, right? As the clinician and for the patient, you want to be able to say, yes, we did meet those goals. You can use motivational incentives to help target those specific behaviors in the treatment plan to help ensure that when you do, again, review that treatment plan, you can say, you know what, we did do this, you did meet those goals. The other thing about motivational incentives is that there's a lot of celebration involved. We celebrate your patient's success in changing the target behavior. I was thinking about being a little crazy this morning and having everybody yell yay every time I said celebrate, just to see if you were paying attention, but I won't do that. But there is a lot of celebrating involved. We want to celebrate your success in changing those behaviors. If you still feel moved and you want to say yay, yay! All right. The other thing that we know, again, that they are used as an adjunct to your other therapeutic clinical methods. Again, an adjunct or something to supplement what you are already doing. You know that we are always trying to give our patients extra tools for their toolbox, and as providers, we also want to be replenishing our toolbox with new tools. This is what motivational incentives can do for us as the providers. If you are already aware of the stages of change, are you guys familiar with stages of change already? Okay. So they can also be used to motivate your patients to move through those stages of change and to achieve the identified goal. Motivational incentives are reinforcements to celebrate the change behavior. Right. You're going to hear me talk more about reinforcements. What exactly am I talking about when we say reinforcements? Motivational incentive programs, you can see that we already have that other word again, reinforcers, right? These programs provide tangible reinforcers such as vouchers, goods, or privileges to patients for reaching concrete targeted behaviors. Reinforcers are used to increase the occurrence of a desired behavior, not just any behavior, but a desired behavior, it's a specific behavior. We use positive reinforcement, so we present a pleasant stimuli after the person achieves that desired behavior. And the goal or the purpose of that is because we want to encourage them to do that behavior, or maybe if they've already started doing the behavior, we want them to maybe do it more consistently. Again, positive reinforcement involves presenting a positive or pleasing stimuli after a desired behavior occurs. We have the example of going to work. You know what is expected of you. You go to work like you are scheduled to do, and you do your assigned duties, and every week or every 2 weeks you get your paycheck. You get that pleasant stimulus. I don't know anybody who doesn't like payday, right? So we keep doing, we keep showing up for work, we keep doing what we have to do, and we do get that paycheck. Motivational incentives are based on the operant conditioning model. So we know that with operant conditioning, there's a connection between a voluntary behavior and the consequence, right? And the type of consequence that we experience determines or has an impact on whether or not that behavior is repeated. If I do a behavior and I kind of have a not so good outcome, I might maybe think twice about doing that particular behavior again. But if I engage in a behavior and I do have a positive outcome, I might say, hey, I kind of liked what happened, and I might consider doing that behavior again. So motivational incentives are positive reinforcers or consequence that we use to increase a desired behavior. Like I said, we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between rewards and reinforcers. When we're talking about rewards, they are things that mark a significant accomplishment, they mark a milestone, something also that's worthy of celebration. Yay! Rewards also acknowledge our achievements of larger goals or accomplishments. One example would maybe be a diploma, would be an example of something that marks an award or a milestone or an accomplishment. Rewards often rely on internal motivation, right? For those of you sitting in the room who have worked towards your diploma, towards getting your degree, you know that it took a lot of, another yay for that one. It took a lot of internal motivation. It took a lot of time to get there, it took a lot of hard work, it took a lot of commitment. So you did because you had that internal motivation. So what happens if maybe someone doesn't have that same amount of internal motivation? Or what happens if maybe waiting a certain time period just feels too long to achieve that goal, that even though I want to achieve the goal, that seems like a really long time to have to wait before I get that goal. So they give us an example here that if I'm in a treatment setting and maybe we give a reward to a patient or we recognize them for maintaining abstinence for a 1 month period. If you're working with a patient who has never, in many, many years, been abstinent or drug-free, 1 month period might seem like a very long time to wait. And that's where reinforcers come in hand, because reinforcers are going to take that large goal and they're going to break it down into little itty-bitty baby steps. We're going to break it down into bite-sized pieces that feel a little bit more manageable. Rather than having to wait a long period of time before I get my reward, we're going to break it down so that along the way I can be recognized with these reinforcers when I accomplish these smaller behaviors or smaller steps that ultimately lead me to that larger goal that I'm working on. So reinforcers are used to increase the occurrence of a specific desired behavior, again by breaking it down. So they also give us the other example that if a patient's goal is to complete a course of treatment, that might seem really overwhelming thinking about completing this. So reinforcers can be used to break it down, and maybe we recognize someone with reinforcement for attending a group. So that way, by attending those groups, I'm ultimately also completing my course of treatment. But we first want to recognize those smaller steps along the way. These next two slides are really, really important when we're talking about the implementation or the creation of a motivational incentive program. So one, again, we've been saying this whole time, it's a targeted behavior, it's a specific behavior that we are looking at. So first thing is that the target behaviors must be readily detected, right? When we're talking about which behavior do we incentivize, we need to make sure that it's very clear, that it's measurable, that it's observable. We don't want necessarily something that's very subjective, right? It has to be very clear. If I say, well, we're going to do an incentive, so if you participate, you'll get an incentive. Well, people might have different definitions of what participation means. I showed up, didn't I? I'm here. Well, are we talking about showing up? Are we talking about asking a question or making a comment? We want the target behavior to be very clear and clearly understood to staff and patients. The other step, number 2, is our essential element. They say that tangible reinforcers are provided whenever the targeted behavior is demonstrated. We want to make sure that if we say, you will get this incentive when you do this behavior, that we want to make sure that we follow through on our end, make sure that we do give that reinforcer when the behavior is completed. And lastly, when the targeted behavior does not occur, well then what do we do then? If they didn't do that desired behavior or the targeted behavior, then what? In that case, the reinforcer is withheld. This, I think, is really important to make note of, is that with motivational incentives, nothing is taken away from the patient. They have the opportunity to earn the incentive for achieving that targeted behavior. If they don't achieve that targeted behavior, then the incentive is withheld, and that's how it is. I've not seen this with staff at all, but I know that in my experience doing motivational incentives, I have even had patients who, you know, if maybe they got a sticker for attendance, but maybe a group member did something that they didn't like in the group, they might say, Melissa, so-and-so should lose their stickers because they did something in group that we don't like, right? But we're not going to take away something that they've already earned, right? So if that person earned that sticker for their attendance, we don't take it away, right? They either get the incentive for achieving the targeted behavior, or if they don't achieve the targeted behavior, then it's withheld. But nothing is taken away from the patients. The founding principles, again, we're going to go into more detail about these 7 principles in the afternoon because they are really, really important for doing this program. So one, as we said, we have to identify the target behavior. What exactly do we want to work on here? Is it attendance, showing up on time? Are we looking at your analysis? What exactly is the targeted behavior? And once we have the targeted behavior in mind, then we have to figure out, well, who are we targeting? Are we targeting the entire population at our facility? Because maybe the entire facility likely does not need that incentive, right? So we're going to figure out which population in particular do we pick for this incentive program. And then we have to pick the choice of reinforcer. What exactly are we going to use? Are we going to use a voucher system? Are we going to use a patient privilege? Or what system are we going to use as our reinforcer? And then we have to figure out the incentive magnitude. How powerful is this incentive that we are going to be using? If we're asking something that's really maybe a little kind of challenging for the patient, we want to make sure that whatever the incentive is makes it worth their while, so to speak. The other thing I know that Christine would always say is that sometimes it's not about the monetary value of what it is. Even if someone gets a candy bar, maybe I have a Hershey's candy bar, but they don't really like Hershey candy bars. So that Hershey candy bar may not have as much value as the Reese's Pieces, right? And so those are some things to keep in mind. Also, the frequency of incentive distribution. Does that person get an incentive every time they show up to group? Do you do weekly urinalysis? If that's the case, maybe it's a weekly distribution. So you have to think about how frequently are we distributing the incentive. The timing of the incentive matters, and how long this intervention is going to take place. So these are all things that you need to be considering as you are developing your program. You may have some questions about that. We will go into more detail in the afternoon, but that is very important. So if you're considering which workshop do I go into the afternoon, the PAMI training will be very good for people who are looking for an introduction to motivational incentives. You're looking for a foundation. Those people who want to learn the fishbowl technique, you are going to experience it firsthand. But if you say, you know what, this fishbowl technique sounds kind of interesting, it is a lower cost incentive program. And if you're looking for some practical tools to take home with you today, I'm just going to show you really quick my little fishbowl that we have. So I think in the video you saw them using their fishbowl, right? So we have one with us that we are going to be using today. Again, later on you will be participating in the fishbowl, and we have some of our tickets already in there. We have some prizes that you have the opportunity to win, possibly some tools for your own incentive program that I hope you will implement as soon as you go home. And some of the prizes that I have are to help you get started so that you will make use of these. Anyone who wins a pick from the fishbowl could possibly earn tickets for your fishbowl that are already printed out for you. But as I said, in order to get an incentive, you have to do the target behavior. You have to do the desired behavior. So if you want to pick from the fishbowl, you will have to come and maybe engage in that desired behavior in the afternoon so you can get a pick from the fishbowl. I think my time is probably up.